Every time I come along the coast, these campgrounds are always full. I have to admit, I am a little bit defeated on this one. Well, it is a cold day in February on the Oregon coast. You just stop to have a little snack. Enjoy the view here. I don't often come to the coast for camping adventures because there is so much private land along the coast, and that isn't private land is usually fee campgrounds. So I don't even bother, but here I am out here. I'm gonna try it again, and it's gonna be cold. Oh my goodness. But it is unusually cold. It has been unusually cold. And that may end up posing a problem today for the mission that I had in mind to go up into the hills and see what kind of camping I could find. It did actually snow in Eugene just a few days ago. It was just a little bit. I could see snow in the Coast Range, which is also unusual. I'm a little concerned I may run into some old snow up there, and I may not be able to make the progress that I was hoping to make up into the hills. We'll see what happens. I guess that's why it's called adventure.
It's a weekday in the middle of winter here on the Oregon coast. This highly popular area of the state brings together breathtaking scenic beauty, charming coastal towns, expanses of sand dunes, diverse wildlife, and a usually tempered climate that is never too hot and rarely excessively cold. Despite the many campgrounds that can be found the length of Highway 101, they're typically booked months in advance, making spur-of-the-moment camping trips to the coast notoriously difficult for much of the year. And with no significant tracts of public land on the ocean side of the highway, dispersed camping near the beach is next to impossible. I was curious to see how full the established campgrounds would be on a weekday in winter, and there are indeed campsites to be found, if you don't mind camping this close to a neighbor.
So even on a weekday in the middle of winter, it can be difficult to roll up and find a campsite like this in an actual campground that is along the ocean. And I didn't come to camp at this campground. This is a campground that I used to come to a lot when the kids were little. And that was back before I knew anything about dispersed camping at all. Nowadays, you really have to plan way ahead to camp at the Oregon coast. You have to get on the website months in advance to reserve, at least one of the nice spots. Now, as I've grown accustomed to dispersed camping and basically never paying for a campsite, $35 to camp in really close proximity to a bunch of other people feels a little tough to swallow, but it's also a prime location. There's not really places that you can disperse camp along the Oregon coast. If you want to have a nice spot along the ocean, you pretty much have to be in a pay campground. You pay a premium for it. I do like this campground. It brings back a lot of memories. I see how I camped there. I've camped in that spot. I've camped in that spot. We came here many times over the years. And over the past few years, I've largely avoided messing around in the Coast Range because it's interspersed with so much private land, timberlands, and I've just run into so many gates that I pretty much just stopped trying. Come to the coast most of the time as a day trip, and I go home in the evening, or if it works out to stay the night in a vacation rental of some sort with family. But I was chatting with one of my Patreon members about camping along the coast, and was taking another look at the map and realized there's some chunks of public land that are a little more contiguous that I haven't really dove into that much. And so I thought, well, you know what? I'm gonna actually just really see if I can go up into a couple of these areas and find some places to camp. Now, it won't be along the ocean, it's gonna be on the inland side of the highway, and I'm certain no way to possibly see the ocean. The forest here is so dense But the coastal rainforest is really beautiful, and there could be some charming campsites. I'm gonna poke up and find out. Well, this is just a little dead-end spur that I thought maybe could lead to a campsite, but there's just more and more downed trees. I got a lot more areas to explore, so I'm not going to mess around with trying to clear all that and just find myself with more to clear down the road there. Unless if we can just get back out of here now. I guess that's why it's called exploring. If you knew what you were going to find, it would be exploring.
I am now miles and miles deep into the Coast Range, entirely on public lands, without finding a single campsite. I'm sure I'll eventually find something, but this is not looking very practical as someplace to spend the night while visiting the coast. Finally, this spur looks pretty promising since it appears to dead end atop a peak.
Well, after miles and miles and miles of just winding through the forest on these little roads, it was just, there was nothing. There was never anything to explore on the side. And every little side spur that I saw that looked like it had any possibility was like bulldozed. You couldn't go up it. You could see that, you know, people had camped in some of these little spots that were right next to the road. But basically just nothing. These roads seem like they all want to run on the tops of these ridges. And it's kind of cool because you get these glimpses now and then of, you know, the coast range all around you. Sometimes it's just a drop off on both sides. I mean, there's trees, but you're just running on the peak of this little ridge. I really thought with the amount of time and miles that I've just done that I would have found 3 or 4 or 5 campsites. But here we go. I found one. And I'm not going to camp here. I want to keep going. I want to keep exploring. I still got quite a bit of daylight left. Now here's a spot where you can see there used to be a spur that went up to the top of that little thing there, and that would have been a really nice spot to camp. But this has just been bulldozed off there, so you can no longer drive up there. Yeah, that's like 4 or 5 foot cut off there where that road used to come down. Okay, here's another little landing. Not a terrible spot to camp, actually. Nice view. Definitely the wind is hitting this one a little bit more. It's chilly, but well, you could do worse than that.
You know, if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you've often heard me say, you don't have to know where you're gonna camp. Just get out there, get on some public land and explore the spots that are out there to find. And nearly all of the time, that is true. I have to admit, I am a little bit defeated on this one. I am stunned by how much public land I've crisscrossed, how many little side roads I've gone down or haven't been able to go down that normally would produce a campsite. I mean, I can't complain. This is fun, been some interesting views, and I just love to just be exploring, being someplace that I haven't been before, even if it looks like a lot of places I have been before. Nope. Blocked off, another one blocked off. Okay, so I think I've just crested probably the high point, the highest point that I'm gonna get to. I'm at about 1,500 feet. There's more snow than I've seen anyplace else, but I'm already dropping back down, so I'm kind of back on the sunny side. That's two really huge trunks. Now that is beyond my ability to clear. Okay, guess I will not be completing my loop. Oh, it's gonna be a whole lot of backtracking. I'll figure out what to do while I'm backtracking. I just gotta find some place to turn around now. Okay, here we go. The way the sun has come out this afternoon, depending on what I find, I'm a little tempted just to go on back down to the beach, camp on the coast. I have to decide whether or not I want to spend 35 bucks on a campsite. Yeah, it was just too hard to be this close to the ocean and not actually just go and camp there. Plus, every time I come along the coast, these campgrounds are always full. So to have a number of spots available, and especially since the clouds kind of cleared up and we got this lovely little sunset, if I had found some sort of really epic campsite up in the hills, I might have stayed up there, but I figured I could zip on down here and enjoy a little time on the beach while the sun goes down. Worth it.
It's a very crisp morning and the truck thermometer says 27 degrees. I've been coming to the coast in winter my whole life, but that's definitely the lowest temperature I've ever experienced here. The puddles are actually frozen completely solid. Even though I failed in my mission to find dispersed camping reasonably close to the beach, the exploring was still enjoyable, and for me, any day at the Oregon coast is a good day. Sometimes, paying for a campsite is money well spent. Maybe on my next coast trip, I'll just head straight for a campground. I better look into reservations right now.